to our new show, Obsessed, a show where we talk about whatever it is we're currently obsessed with. I'm Caitlin Palmer.
I'm Clay.
And we're
Obsessed.
Spooky season is finally here. There's a lot of things we don't like about living in the South, but there are some monsters down here.
Yeah, in the background you could probably hear the pitter-patter of rain on our windowsill and maybe even the light rumbling of thunder, and that's not sound effects.
That's real.
That's real.
And that is just for you for spooky season. So the South is known for a lot of things. Most of them aren't good.
Most of them are heat, humidity, and cicada screams.
Pretty much, almost exclusively. But there is one creature that lurks, allegedly, in the swamps of southern Louisiana, which is very close to us. You may have heard of it if you watch shows like Supernatural or...
They did do one episode on it.
They did, and someone else did too. But anyway, imagine a werewolf, but it cooks really well.
And may or may not have a top hat and cane.
Almost certainly has. It almost certainly dances and does Charlestons and jazz squares as well. We're talking, of course, about the Louisiana werewolf, the Roux-ga-roux.
Or maybe the Loup-ga-roux, depending.
Yeah, the Loup-ga-roux. I've always heard Loup-ga-roux. Well, Loup, L-O-U-P-E, Lupe, is a wolf. So it's like a wolf man.
Well, yeah, it's French for wolf.
Yeah, it's French for wolf.
Woof woof.
Woof woof. It's like moon.
And it's funny that you describe it as a werewolf, particularly the Louisiana werewolf, because a lot of stories say that it's not a wolf at all.
Exactly, and that's something we're going to have to get into. So, not very far from us, there is a place called Houma, Louisiana. Have you heard of it, Clay?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah. So they do.
Considering I drove you there.
He did. He bought me all kinds of cool shit too. So they have the Rougarou festival. It's a big deal down here. It's classic werewolf, little like humanoid wolf. But the true stories, the true legends of this creature are not the jovial, cute wolf person who can't count past 12, like the classic stories are. So they're said to lurk in the swamps around New Orleans, Acadiana, and the surrounding sugarcane fields. It's a Cajun legend, and it hunts naughty children. This likely originated in France and then came over with the Cajuns, because a lot of, Cajuns are Louisiana swamp people. I can say that. My grandmother was a true Cajun. So likely it came over from France and Canada. The Cajuns are a whole other breed of human being.
Yeah.
In the best way.
If you've heard someone speak like authentic sort of Creole speech, you will not understand
You
what they're
can't
saying.
understand them, but boy is the food good. So it's believed to be a person. So this isn't like born a monster. This starts out as a person, a human, you or me even.
Oh, so it is born a monster.
It is. You're right. Oh my God. Wow, things just got dark. So they start out as a human being, but then they're turned into the Loup-ga-roux or the Roux-ga-roux. And legend says if you're bit by a Roux-ga-roux, then you become a Roux-ga-roux for 101 days. You can get rid of this curse if you pass it on to someone else. It could be transmitted by a bite, so like you get bit by another Loup-ga-roux like we just said, or it can be a voodoo curse. So, be nice to people in Louisiana.
Especially if you know they can perform voodoo.
Right, especially if you know they can perform voodoo. So, sometimes they become like a wolf or a dog, but it's more often like a pig or even a cow. The wolf has just kind of become more of a symbology, especially here in the West because of werewolves and their Poplarville.
Yeah.
They're popular. That's where they're from. They're from Poplarville.
Yeah, well, wolves have always been a symbol of some sort of predator.
Right.
Something that preys on the weak or unsuspecting.
Sure, that makes sense, yeah. And they're also kind of cooler than a pig or a cow.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. A creepy pig cryptid would be pretty dope.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the pig. Don't worry. And it is also said, beware if you're Catholic during the Lenten season, because if you disregard Lent, you're going to turn into a Lougarou.
Ah, yes.
Especially if you go 7 years in a row and do not observe Lent. Get ready for 101 days of Lougarou.
It ain't too bad, though. I mean, 7 years...
I mean, I'd take it.
For only 101 days.
So, one way to protect yourself from the Lougarou, it's very similar to other things we've talked about on this show. You can always put things on your floor for the Lougarou to count, such as grains of rice or 13 coins. Some say that the Lougarou can only count to 12 and will get frustrated counting and having to start over. Others say
so he gets to 13, he's like, wait, no, the highest number is 12.
Exactly.
Let me try again. There can't possibly be more than 12. What would I say?
Right.
12 and 1?
12 and 1, and then he gets mad.
That's when you come across a smart Lougarou, and he's like, I can only count 12, but I can count to 12 up to 12 times. So it has to be 145 things, because then he won't be able to count past that. Because he can say, yes, 12 and 12 and 12 and 12. 12 sets of 12. He can count that high.
I don't think he's that smart, Clay.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. But some of them can count like grains of rice, but most of them can't count past 12. So you give them 13 of anything and they get pissed off because they can't count that high and it makes them mad.
Give the Lougarou math homework.
Yeah, exactly.
I get pissed off too. It's like, actually, you know what? I don't care.
I don't care. You know what? Keep your face. Keep your face. Like most cryptids, they're believed to be a story to inspire fear and obedience and to protect little Cajun children from the dangers of the unknown. This is a swamp monster. And in our travels to the Lougarou Festival, we met the best fan boat captain. His name's Captain Caviar. Shout out to our friend Captain Caviar.
Yeah, so it was actually I was gonna say a young couple. Fuck, they are a young couple.
A beautiful couple.
this fan boat captain, as Caitlin said, Captain Caviar, who runs his own little swamp tour boat. He does it. He said that he used to do like bigger boats, take whole groups, but in adjustment with COVID, switched to smaller like personal tours. So he will take you on effectively a one-on-one haunted swamp tour, which sounds honestly more fun than what we did.
Yeah, we didn't meet Captain Caviar until after we did a swamp tour. So our first day in Houma, we did the Jean Lafitte swamp tour.
Which nothing against that.
No, it was really fun.
That was fine.
It was great.
He was very knowledgeable about where the alligators would be.
Oh, we met so many really cool alligators.
Yeah, we saw a lot of cool alligators, and our tour boat guide was he was funny, and he filled us in on a lot of the stuff, just the sort of technical. If you're interested in the swamp and how it is run by its creatures, he could give you the laydown. For
sure, and he even told us we rode past some places that were movie sets.
Yeah, he was able to point those out, and that's really neat. And I know that a lot of movies get filmed down in the swamp because...
Right, in the bayou. Yeah.
If you're going to do a movie that takes you to that location, then you're pretty much going to go to southern Louisiana.
Right. Yeah, there were a lot of things in their stories about... Listen to that rain. It sounds so lovely. Oh, goodness. But there's stories that during some of the movies that were filmed, like there was a Tarzan movie that was filmed out there. And there were some chimpanzees, allegedly, who got out and are still in the swamp. And those might be some of the Roux-ga-roux sightings.
There was a story about, Captain Caviar told us this one, about these mounds, these sort of nests that get built way up in the trees. Just made out of like sticks and mud, and they just have a single opening in them. And he would, point to all the kids and tell them those were, Lougarou nests.
Yeah.
Only to come to find out that it was when the rivers would rise, beavers would build little hovels inside of the branches that would then become underwater.
Yes, and he would tell kids like, oh, yeah, well, what do you know that's big enough to get up there?
Right, to climb up these trees and they'd be covered in these scratch marks and everything.
He says you're not really a captain if you don't have a Rougarou story.
Right.
So, Rougarous, there was a Glenn Petrie. He's a professional storyteller, like an orator. He actually worked in Hollywood. He did all kinds of really cool stuff. He told us some really charming stories that his grandmother told him from his childhood. Now, one thing about the Rougarou that you have to remember is most of the stories are passed down orally.
Yeah, we actually ran into a big problem when trying to research the Rougarou because there's not a whole lot.
There's really not. You look it up and pretty much what we read you at the beginning is just about all there is on the internet. I mean, I'm sure if you did like some deep digging, but there aren't that many written stories. It's almost exclusively word of mouth.
Yeah, which makes researching a lot harder.
It was. So, oh no, field research. It was the worst. But yeah, Glenn Petrie, he told us a lot of really, really interesting stories and some facts about the Rougarou that I didn't come across at all in any of my research. So the Rougarou themselves, the person underneath the swamp monster, I guess, is kind of a victim. If you are the one to release a Rougarou, and we'll talk about how you can release them, to release a Rougarou, so to free them of the curse, you have to draw their blood. You can stab them, but you can't shoot them. You have to use your hands to inflict some kind of damage.
Yeah, you have to be connected in some way, because that's kind of the whole thing, is this connection from one to another.
Right. And once you have released a Rougarou, you can't say their name for a year and a day.
The person's name.
The person's name, correct.
Right.
So this is where pronouns come in handy, am I right? The Rougarou differs from the classic werewolf for many reasons, but especially because this is not associated with the moon phase. It doesn't matter what kind of moon is out. It doesn't matter if it's a full moon. It doesn't matter if it's a pair of dummy thick ass cheeks.
Or broad daylight.
Or broad daylight. That doesn't affect it. It's a voodoo curse. It's totally different from like lycanthropy.
We were talking about you needed to be connected to inflict blood, or to spill the blood, to break the Rougarou curse. There was one story that he told us about a woman who had like a shitty dog on a leash, like a Chihuahua or a Pomeranian, something snappy, that like bit the Rougarou's ankle. But because she was connected through the leash to the dog that then bit the Rougarou, that counted.
Aw, so see, shitty little dogs sometimes do save the day, don't they, Pans? Your Panzer's napping. The Rougarou is very, very fast. Like, so fast you could miss them. Like, those cartoons where it's like, you want to see me run real fast?
And then nothing changes.
Want to see me do it again? Yeah, that's kind of how the Rougarou is. And that's why this little shitty dog was having such a hard time biting the Rougarou, because it was so fast. But boy, he got it. He got it. There was another story about a doctor who at night would turn into a pig, a boar. So it was like, if you had an emergency during the day, absolutely, that's your guy. He's a great doctor. At night, I don't care if you're dying. We are not going to that doctor. So that was kind of cool.
One thing we haven't really talked about is that the Rougarou itself is a spirit. It's not like the werewolf. It is something that afflicts somebody. And there are multiple Rougarous, and they all manifest differently. But the person who has been afflicted by the Rougarou, like Caitlin was saying, is a victim in themselves.
Right, yeah. Rougarous are actually kind of sad. It's almost like a person with rabies.
Right.
Like some say they don't remember what happened when they vamped out on Rougarou juice, and then others say they do, and it's kind of sad. It's really sad. But not everything was sad. In fact, this was kind of a fun trip. I have some little notes about some cool shit we encountered along the way. So, swamp facts. Okay, I'm an inside cat. I don't really care to go outside. I don't like outside because it's always hot down here. It was the perfect day for a swamp tour. And the alligators were out and they were doing their gator things. And I learned, Clay, that you can estimate a gator's length in feet by how many inches there are between its eyes and its nose.
Did you learn that on the swamp tour?
I did.
Okay.
That was really cool. And cypress trees can live underwater. In fact, the boat was made of cypress wood. This weekend was also about Clay's birthday. Because he's an old man now. So, we wore our Obsessed with the Palmers shirts. You've probably seen them on our social medias, like Instagram, @Obsessed with the Palmers. So that was really cool. We wore our shirts. A couple of people asked us, like, well, what's that? And we're like, oh, that's our podcast. We pandered a little bit. What was not fun was driving in New Orleans.
No, I hate it.
It was...
more than anything.
It was pretty bad. But we did find a Battle Hatchet store, which is a tabletop game that Clay plays.
You're using the legal... I think if we're talking about visiting one of their official stores, we're allowed to use their name?
No, screw them. But not in the Shopkeep, because the Shopkeep was great. So that was really, really cool. There was a really cool Shopkeep that was selling Battle Hatchet merchandise. I forgot what I called it.
Battle Hatchet 40,000?
Yeah, Battle Hatchet 400,000. And they had these really... It's expensive. But it was your birthday and you need whatever you want because you're worth it, babe. Tell us about the Shopkeep.
He was... I don't know if he was putting on a character or if he was just like that, but he was like your classic, like, goodly tavern keep sort of dude.
He really
He had,
was.
like, shoulder-length hair, and he was just, like, an older guy, and I don't know. He did a lot of, like, bowing and just sort of, like, solemn head nods. He was very nice, and it was a nice store to go into.
It was really cool.
I will brave driving New Orleans roads again to go back.
Yeah, that was really cool. Clay's gonna bring some of his friends up there and be super nerds.
Yeah, we'll be real big nerds up there.
I love it. And they give you a bag, and it's like, he's like, here's a very discreet bag,
Yeah.
so no one knows what you bought. And it was like decked out.
Yeah,
in Battle
every
Hatchet.
bit of the bag was covered in licensed artwork. So.
Yeah, and I was like, don't worry, Clay, it's not gonna hurt your street cred.
Yeah, although hopefully somebody doesn't recognize I just bought expensive models and...
Right, yeah, they would try to rob you.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, you're
I
robbing the
I
wrong
don't know what
people,
this is
kid.
worth, but I'll find someone on the internet that does.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And then we found a crystal store, and it was so amazing, and I met who would become my idol. My idol's name is Ricky. Ricky's amazing. Ricky is beautiful. Ricky is everything that everyone should aspire to be. Be more like Ricky. He's so great. He's our shirts, and we were talking about the Rougarou. We talked about the New Orleans Axeman, who deserves an episode. Axeman is creepy. But it was really cool. You got to check out, and they asked for your email. And I'm like, oh, my email's kind of embarrassing because it's like a David Bowie Labyrinth reference. I say embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. It's just kind of long, and I usually have to repeat it 4 times.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
got a
that
bunch of
becomes
underscores.
embarrassing. Yeah. So he's like, oh, David Bowie? I was like, yeah, I love David Bowie. He goes, oh, me too. Did you meet David Bowie? I said, no, I wish I did. He says, I did.
Yeah, it's like, because I did.
And I was like, what? I said, tell me everything. He says, I will when I wrap up your crystals. I was like, okay. So he used to work, my friend Ricky, he used to work in an upscale shoe store in New Orleans. And one day, in walks David Bowie and Iman. They just walk in, and he's like, are you David Bowie and Iman? And they're like, yes. And he said they were very, very nice. I said, were they nice? Because I've always heard that they're nice. But, like, I won't believe anything bad about David Bowie. So I choose to believe, like, even if David Bowie was an ass to you, like, you probably deserved it, because I just don't feel like David Bowie was capable of doing bad things. So he said that they were very nice, and Iman bought some shoes, and he said David Bowie had the shiniest shoes he had ever seen. And I'm like, that bastard was classy as shit. Of course he had shiny shoes. I knew he had shiny shoes.
But you were upset because he didn't note any specific smell emanating.
I did. I asked him, I was like, what did he smell like?
Because you're a fucking weirdo.
I'm a fucking weirdo. He's like, excuse me? I was like, did you...
Yeah, exactly. Any other sane person's response is like, oh, excuse me?
I was like, did he smell good? What did David Bowie smell like? Could you smell him? And he was like, not memorable, I guess. He said they got bored, and they were like, you know what, let's pop on over to New Orleans in my private jet. I'm like, good for you, David Bowie, go off. So David Bowie, for anyone who wanted to know, had very shiny shoes and did not smell memorable.
And did not have a memorable smell.
Did not have a memorable smell.
So at the Rougarou Fest, they had this enormous, and it was making such a noise Well, we could hear it, way off before we got up to the building. But they had this big ass. I mean, it was like a werewolf animatronic. It's supposed to be the Rougarou, of course, but the traditional Rougarou stories aren't necessarily that of a wolfman, and this clearly was. It had like the ripped up flannel shirt and
It's
like
Clay's dad.
the once blue jeans, like shorts or whatever. But it was huge. It was like it had to have been about 8 or 9 feet tall.
It was gigantic, and it had electric eyes, and it blinked.
Yeah, that was one thing that Caitlin
It
noticed.
was extra.
That was berserk, is that it had eyes, mechanical eyes that dilated.
They
before it
dilated
would
and they
roar.
blinked, and yeah, it was really cool.
Because the animatronic itself didn't move around a whole bunch. I mean, it did the roar, moved its head and lower jaw and stuff, but like nothing beyond that. I don't know why they put so much work into the eyes, but whoever was in charge of that part of the animatronic was like, no, this will be real.
They went ham.
You will see the bloodlust in his eyes.
Yeah, and there was this little...
And you're doomed.
Right? There was this little VIP section, and I was like, I want to go in there.
Yeah, we didn't even look at how much that cost. There's no way we would have paid whatever amount of money it was.
Yeah, but like they have these silver platters and stuff, and I was like, ooh, is it to protect you from the werewolf?
Well, werewolves are weak to silver, but the
But the
Rougarou
River
isn't.
is not a werewolf,
Yeah.
so that's why it's kind of misleading to call it the Louisiana werewolf, because it's kind of not a werewolf, but for fun purposes,
Yeah.
it's a werewolf. Whatever. It was really cute. The festival was very dog friendly, which by the way is a really good book by Victoria Shade. You should definitely go check it out. Dog Friendly by Victoria Shade. I love her. She's also my best friend. If me, Victoria Shade, and Ricky could just like go somewhere, that would be so cool.
So the Rougarou Festival is kind of like a street fair. They've got like festival food and stands set up with merch. Like I went to the Rougarou Festival, etc. All kinds of shirts with Lougarous on it. And then just other shit.
Yeah, there was a dog boutique because Halloween.
Oh. Yeah, and they had live music and stuff. It was a good fun time.
We got to take a picture with the baby gator.
Yeah, we got to take a picture with a baby gator. I feel like it was a bit smaller than it probably is normally because recently Houma was hit by a hurricane just last year. So I think they're
Yeah.
still recovering from that.
And there was one person on their Facebook who made a comment that this was the worst one to date. And I'm like, yo, back off.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta understand.
Don't
like,
be a douche.
Houma got hit really hard by that hurricane.
Houma really did. Houma, ugh, poor Houma. It was really cool. It was very, very animal friendly, like we were saying, dog friendly, like the book by Victoria Shea. Go get it. And one of the big reasons for the Rougarou Festival is wetlands conservation.
Yeah. In fact, the Rougarou itself has sort of been rebranded to
It
represent
has.
wetlands conservation.
Exactly. So the logo is this happy, kind of stereotypical werewolf. It's like a humanoid wolf, and he's dancing. He's doing a little Charleston, and he's so happy. And he's the wetlands because it's all the bayous and the swamps.
Right.
And so it was really neat. There were a lot of vendors there set up to talk to you about wildlife. They had, like we said, the alligators. It was very interesting about estuaries. Louisiana has a lot of estuaries.
Right.
Which is where salt water and not salt water.
Freshwater?
Yeah.
Yeah, where saltwater and freshwater sort of mix and commingle. So it creates a very unique ecosystem where creatures that normally would never be able to interact with each other are able to.
Right. And I revisited some childhood trauma regarding birds because there were so many egrets. If you don't know what an egret is, they're like these big white crane birds. They're very pretty birds. It's not the egret's fault that I'm traumatized. When I was a child, Clay, I was in some grade. I've blocked it out, but I was given a task. I had to, we didn't get to pick an animal. We got assigned an animal. And
That's
I
the
wanted
worst.
the jaguar, but I didn't get the jaguar. I got the egret. And I'm like, what the fuck is an egret? And the teacher's like, oh, they're those white birds that you see outside of Walmart. I don't know if that's just us here regionally, or if that's like, do all Walmarts have egrets? Tell us in the comments. But our Walmart always had egrets. And I couldn't find anything about a dang egret. And the teacher was like, yeah, you can find something about egrets. They're literally at our Walmart. And I was like, I know, but I can't find any literature, Mrs. whatever the fuck your name was. So she did that thing, like when kids are being a pain and you like walk with them like really fast, like, look, I'll show you. And then she couldn't find any books about egrets. And I was like, eh.
You made that noise.
Yes.
Hey. Is that the sound an egret makes?
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah, there's no books on egrets, so I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
It's whatever you say it is.
We'll have a whole episode about egrets.
They're our next mythical creature.
Right.
So if you're not from this area, you've probably never heard of the Roux-ga-roux, and even if you are from this area, if you don't live in the swamp, you still might not have heard much about the Roux-ga-roux. But it is a big deal. So big a deal, in fact, the Audubon Zoo, which we went to not too long ago, actually has a display in there of a Roux-ga-roux.
And it is spooky.
It is very spooky. We have pictures we'll put on Instagram. It's dimly lit, and it's this awful, big, hairy creature. Like, the hair just kind of drips off of it like,
looks like
Spanish moss.
Yeah.
And it's got these big, lit-up red eyes, and its mouth is full of these just dagger-like teeth. And it is surrounded, on the ground by its feet, a bunch of empty, mismatching children's shoes.
It's very, very creepy.
Yeah, for all the naughty children that were scooped up by the Roux-ga-roux and taken back to be eaten.
Yep.
So behave. Or the Roux-ga-roux will get you.
Exactly. Behave.
The Roux-ga-roux, we were talking about how different it is. One of the reasons why is because it's spread almost entirely by word of mouth. So you will get these very different versions of Roux-ga-roux, not just in appearance, like what we talked about with wolf, cattle, pigs, whatever that might be, but quite literally everything it does. Some have described that it actually sucks blood and doesn't necessarily consume its prey. The 101 days is a reoccurring theme, but it'll go from anywhere from being possessed by a Roux-ga-roux to having a spell cast on you by the Roux-ga-roux. The spell or the spirit, transferring from person to person, possessing them and turning them into this terrible creature. So, Tales of the Roux-ga-roux started building when settlers first met with the Acadian peoples, back in the 1600s. So, the tale of the Roux-ga-roux is very old, which is why it's so surprising that you don't really see anything on the internet about it. But like you said, it was passed almost exclusively word of mouth.
Right.
So what you get is these very different tellings of what a Roux-ga-roux is and how it acts. And over the years, it's transformed from a tortured person who has like a dog head into like this snarling, twisted, lanky werewolf.
Yeah.
There's some similarities between it and the Wendigo, being cursed by a spirit and transformed into this hungry, awful beast, and that just by seeing a Roux-ga-roux or a Wendigo, you could become one yourself. Mm-hmm. But that's about as far as the similarities end. One thing that is still a little similar is that Wendigos aren't necessarily hated as they are feared, and Roux-ga-roux, it seems to be kind of the same way.
Right.
There's not an angry mob outside trying to hunt down the Roux-ga-roux. It's more... It almost
kind of
takes
avoid
on,
it.
Well, it almost takes on like a sacred sort of view. It's simply a force of nature, something that you should beware of, but, not necessarily hunt down and try to kill. I find it a little weird how much it has to do with sort of Catholicism. Mm-hmm. What you're talking about with the Lent and scaring children. Catholicism loves that. But there's actually a movie that was released in 2016 called Rougarou, and it is quite literally about a 11-year-old girl whose dad is supposed to give up alcoholism for Lent, and he breaks that vow and then is tortured by a Rougarou. So you can check that movie out. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, just now hearing about it.
Yeah,
honestly.
but it's not a super popular. So it might be one of those like cheesy kind of shitty horror movies, but I love those so much.
I do too. Like Birdemic.
Right. Oh no, I don't love Birdemic. So there's also an expansion for the Fantasy Flight Games Arkham Horror game called Curse of the Rougarou, which is pretty neat. I'll give you the little summary here. The headline was sensationalist. 3 killings in 9 days were enough to spook a town, sure. But you doubt all of New Orleans is gripped by terror or even knows about the killings. Still something piqued your interest. When one reporter's sensational news about a series of savage killings fails to make its way into Arkham Advisor, your friend at the establishment decides to contact you nonetheless, deeming the reports the sort of thing that might suit your eccentric curiosities. She's right, of course, and when you head to the North Side Station to book your ticket for New Orleans, you can't possibly imagine the shape of the horrors that await you. Arkham Horror is a fun game, and it's kind of weird that they reach out to this curse of the Rougarou. I haven't seen them do anything else with this. Typically, it's like very Lovecraftian horror, but I just thought that was neat.
That is
That
neat.
the Rougarou gets his whole little expansion there.
He does, and New Orleans is famous for so many spooky things.
Yeah, so many spooky things.
And the Rougarou is the thing that got the...
Yeah, I got the expansion.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see that. Probably learn some more about the Rougarou.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably all something they invented for it, because
Yeah.
otherwise they'd have to go around and ask all the old people that live in New Orleans.
Aw. And there's a lot of old people that live in New Orleans. There's a lot of young people, too. There's just a lot of people in New Orleans.
Yeah.
My favorite part, other than Ricky and David Bowie not smelling great, was the Nutria rat pardoning.
Yeah, so the Rougarou Festival, every year, they pardon a Nutrirat, because there is a bounty on Nutrirats, as they are an invasive species.
They're highly invasive. The state of Louisiana will give you $6 per Nutrirat tail.
And you get to keep the dead Nutrirat.
I guess so. So you get to eat it?
Yeah.
I would just have a bunch of little Nutrirats, and I'd be like, I'll save you. I don't care that you don't
A
have
bunch
a
of them
tail."
without any tails.
They'd be so
Because you
cute.
do want that $6.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do want the $6, but you'll save all the Nutrirats.
It goes against everything I believe in. But every year, so we were talking about the wetlands conservation and the swamps and everything. There is an educational Nutrirat, and his name is Beignet.
Right.
And every year, Beignet gets pardoned.
Right, by the mayor, the governor, whoever happens to
Or
be there.
you know, someone's in their stead. And every year, little Beignet gets
They
pardoned.
wheel him out on this
wheel him
stage.
out, and they said, it's so sweet. It's so sweet. At the end, after, you know, the mayor read the declaration of pardon for Beignet, the Nutrirat, he says, Beignet, do you have anything you'd like to say? And he put the microphone up to the little Nutrirat, and it was eating a carrot, and it was the best ASMR.
Yeah, you could just hear the crunching.
So sweet. So Beignet is the best thing that's ever happened in the South.
Yeah, it was fun to see. This whole
Really cute.
This whole thing get like worked up about this little Nutrirat. He gets pardoned because of all the educational work that he does.
Right.
And since he subsists entirely on a diet of carrots and broccoli that is bought from a store for him, he can't do any damage to the environment. So he gets an official legal pardoning from the bounty on all Nutrirats.
Right.
His tail is safe.
His tail is safe, and so is the rest of him. But Beignet is the best thing ever.
Beignet was great. Also, if you don't know, Nutria, like, hamburgers are the best.
No, they're not. That's disgusting. That's horrible. A Nutrirat. So apparently Nutrirats aren't everywhere. Imagine a guinea pig, right? But it's kind of big and it's got a rat tail.
Right, but it weighs 15 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a big-ass rat.
It's a big rat.
But they taste good because they subsist entirely on water like foliage. So it's good meat.
They're precious.
They're akin to a capybara. Think a small capybara.
Which is much like a guinea pig. So yeah, they're...
Right. They're bigger than a guinea pig, but smaller than a capybara. I heard that capybara is also delicious.
Probably. They eat them a lot in Peru, but we're better than that. We don't eat the little babies.
Maybe you are.
Plays a card.
I want to eat a capybara.
Capybara.
I want capybara.
I want to eat a capybara burger.
Capybara sauce.
A capybara egg, like instead of a Cadbury egg.
Oh, God.
That's disgusting.
So, unfortunately, we didn't get to speak to the storyteller. Although it looks like we could have. Caitlin suggested, and I said, no, I don't want to bother him. And then he got just swarmed by a crowd of people and was stuck there for like 40 minutes.
Oh.
So, we should have tried and got our shot, I guess.
I know, everyone else did.
To get like a secret Rougarou story from him.
Right. So animated, so cute.
But unfortunately, we didn't.
We failed them. So, Clay, let's do that thing where we rate the Rougarou. This is a new thing you did. And I really like this.
All right, well, I guess the first question then is, how likely are you to survive an encounter with a Rougarou?
Probably about a 9 out of 10 because most people do survive them.
I guess that's fair, but it can also move extremely fast.
That's true. It can move extremely fast, but like, the poor baby can't count over 12.
I guess that's True.
I mean, there is the possible... I'm not saying I wouldn't be maimed by the Lougarou. I'm not saying I wouldn't become
Okay, you would just
a Rougarou,
survive.
but I would survive
the
it.
encounter. Okay.
Yeah.
Now they talk about he, can't count higher than 12, but it doesn't sound like he's ever magically compelled to do so. Just that he can't.
So I think it's just a thing. That
I don't think you can throw down a sack of beans like you could with
Right.
other creatures with whatever it's called, like arithmophilia or something. I think that's just like you can trick him before the chase begins, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't think it's gonna work as like an emergency get out of jail card.
Right. It's like, look over there, and then throw coins down. I think they mean when they say to put the coins down or to put the rice down, they mean to put like outside your door at night so it doesn't come in.
Right. Yeah. So he gets distracted by that.
So I guess if you were to just encounter a Rougarou in the wild, I would almost certainly become a Rougarou, but I'd probably survive.
Okay. I'd probably give myself like a 7.
Really? That's all you'd give yourself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he wants to kill me, he will, I guess.
I think they want to pass on the curse.
Yeah, but I'm kind of an asshole, so I won't.
Oh, that's true. You are kind of an asshole.
Well, how creepy is the Rougarou?
I don't think the Rougarou's creepy. I
You
think
don't?
he's kind of sad, yeah.
I don't know. I think about him like surrounded by all those empty shoes. That's the creepiest friggin' thing.
That was scary. Like that rendition of the Rougarou was creepy. But I wouldn't say he's any creepier than any other cryptid. So I would probably give him about a solid 4.
That's not how we rate the creepiness. It's either not spooky, spoopy, 2 spoopy for me, or 3 spooky, 5 me.
I guess he can have a spoop.
You can give him a spook. I was actually going to give him 2 spooky.
2 spooky?
2 spooky for me.
Okay.
I don't know. Something about like this hairy dog creature crawling around on all fours in the swamp. Me being in that setting is extremely creepy.
Thinking about being in the swamp makes me think about mosquitoes, which makes me angry and itchy.
So how likely is the Rougarou to exist?
Okay, so I believe in voodoo. Voodoo kind of scares me. There may be people who truly believe that they are inflicted with lycanthropy and or Rougarouism. Rougarism. I'd probably give them like a 6.
Okay. I was only gonna give it like a 2. Doesn't seem to exist until people bring their own like ideas into this region and it starts to mix with other ones. So
Yeah. Now I feel stupid.
like I say, the ball's on you to say you'd have like a 9 to survive against the Rougarou is really something. It's all about hunting down people who like don't do Lent good.
Oh yeah,
I'm not
screwed.
Catholic, so it probably wouldn't even go after me in the first place.
It'd be like, you're not worth my time.
Right, and it's like, oh, you don't even practice Lent, whatever.
Right.
It's like, but this one, she puts half of her heart into it. Makes it about 2 weeks.
One year I gave up David Bowie music for Lent.
I couldn't make it.
I couldn't. There's this little known Catholic trick that on Sunday you can do whatever you like if you give up drinking sweet tea. On Sunday you can drink sweet tea. So on Sundays, David Bowie, 24/7.
Wait, so Sundays you get to like not?
It's like a get out of Lent free day.
Because you can like immediately ask for forgiveness. Is that the idea?
No, I think it's just like it kind of doesn't count for Lent because it's the Lord's Day. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you made that up.
No, that is a thing, or it was in our family. But yeah, I didn't make it.
Pitiful.
Yeah.
How likely is the Rougarou to be an alien?
There's definitely some alien stuff going on down in the bayou. Almost certainly.
Okay, well, the bayou aside, we're just talking about the Rougarou.
The Rougarou itself, like just as an entity, I'd give it like a 2.
Yeah, it's about where I do. And I would give it a 1 if it wasn't for the whole like possessed by spirits thing, which
see, it's more
some
supernatural.
alien enthusiasts really enjoy.
I too enjoy.
So I'll bump it up to a 2, but yeah, I don't think it's.
Yeah, I'm too nice to give a 1. So when I do finally give something a 1, just know I hate it.
Wow. Just because it has no chance of being an alien?
It has no chance of being an alien. It has no chance of being my friend.
Damn.
That's not true.
Shit on.
Sorry.
I wonder if that
true.
drew blood from a Rougarou.
It might have. Maybe I just broke the curse on somebody. Somebody listening is like, thank you.
Somebody in their Rougarou form has their headphones on listening to our podcast. Oh, I heard there's one about me.
Yeah. So you're welcome. You're welcome.
He's probably also like, a lot of that is wrong. This is actually how it is.
Probably so. Write in and tell us because
if you're a Rougarou, you have to tell us legally.
Yeah,
or
no,
it's
legally exactly. That is entrapment if you do not tell us. So we need to know, and we need to know now.
And also give us the scoop because it's really hard to find people to even tell you stories. There will be people who are like, "Oh yeah, I know Rougarou stories." And you're like, "Cool, can we hear one?" They're like, "No."
Right.
It's like, well, fuck.
Well, even at the Rougarou festival, there was like 2 Rougarou stories.
Yeah, out of the whole like 1 hour storytelling special, and they were very quick. And the lady even like asked him something like, "What, do you have any more?" And he just kind of changed the subject.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he didn't know any more Rougarou stories.
But it's still fun, whether it's a real creature or not. It's a fun cryptid. It's a fun story. Perfect for spooky season. If you're ever down in our neck of the woods, definitely check out the Houma Rougarou Festival.
Yeah. If you're in Houma, check out Captain Caviar's...
Captain Caviar.
Captain Caviar, I said Cavalier.
I love that.
Captain Caviar's Swamp Tours. We're definitely going to check it out next time we're in the area.
For sure, for sure. Lots of fun. We hope everyone has like the happiest, most fun spooky season ever. Make good choices. We're proud of you. Whatever you've done this week. Even if you're just kind of pouring from a 1/3 glass like I have been for the last 2 days.
Pouring from a 1/3 glass?
Yeah.
What kind of saying is that?
Well, you know how like you can't pour from an empty glass? Like if your glass is empty, you can't like help other people because you don't have anything left to give?
So you say you just don't have much to give?
I just don't have much to give. But all I have is 1/3 of a glass, and I'm giving you 1/3 of a glass, so that's 100%. Clay.
Sure.
Yeah, that's how that works. That's math.
Yeah, whatever.
That's how math works.
I can't count higher than 12. I don't friggin' know.
Really? Didn't know that about you.
It's because of the Mississippi education system.
Oh, okay.
Not because I'm a Rougarou.
Right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, I am, but it's not because of
Oh,
that.
okay. I thought so.
There you go.
Love it. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next time. And until then, happy Halloween.
I mean, you've never seen me bleed.